In life, everyone desires happiness, good fortune, and peace. But there's something worth pondering. Some people feel they lack more the more they seek, while others find abundance without seeking. The ancients called this blessing, PHC. Blessing isn't just about external luck. It's also the result of how a person lives, how they treat others, and how they treat themselves. In today's video, we'll explore the profound philosophical meaning of blessing, why some people have abundant blessings, while others have meager ones, and how to accumulate blessings for yourself each day. If you want to live a more peaceful, lighter-hearted life and a more sustainable existence, subscribe to the Simple Philosophy channel to follow our meaningful content. In life, many people spend a lot of time pursuing success, money, and status. But the further they go and the more experiences they have, the more they realize that there are things more important than external success. These are peace of mind, health, kind relationships, and inner strength. All of these things are often encapsulated in a very familiar yet not easily understood word, blessing or happiness. What does the word PHC mean, and how should it be understood correctly? PHC is not just luck, but the sum total of all the good things a person receives from life, including health, peace, relationships, and inner tranquility. Many people, upon hearing the word PHC, blessing, good fortune, immediately think of luck. But that's not enough. Luck can come and go very quickly, while PHC is a more enduring state. It's not a temporary event, but the result of how one lives their life over a long period of time. Good fortune is first and foremost reflected in health. A person may not be extremely wealthy, but if they have a healthy body, they have a huge foundation for a good life. Conversely, if they have a lot of money but their health is not good, everything else will be difficult to achieve. Happiness also lies in inner peace. Some people lack nothing materially, yet their hearts are always restless, anxious, or stressed. They find it difficult to experience true joy. Meanwhile, some people live simply but have light hearts, fewer worries, and are easily content with small things. Relationships are also a very clear part of happiness. A person surrounded by kind, caring, and understanding people who don't hurt each other will find life much more pleasant. Conversely, if one is always intense, competitive, or exploitative relationships, no matter how successful they are, it will be difficult to find peace. Happiness is also reflected in the fact that you rarely cause yourself unnecessary suffering. Some people, even in not-so-difficult circumstances, frequently fall into trouble, conflict, or make wrong decisions. Conversely, some people know when to stop, choose what is appropriate, and avoid many undesirable consequences. Therefore, happiness is not something given randomly from the outside, but rather the result of one's inner self, behavior, and daily choices. Why did the ancients consider good fortune more important than wealth? Wealth may help you succeed for a period, but good fortune is what helps you retain what you have and live peacefully in the long run. Talented people often achieve success more easily. They possess ability, quick wit, and are better at seizing opportunities. However, if talent is lacking in good fortune, those achievements may not be sustainable. There are people who are very talented and achieve success quickly, but then lose it due to ill-advised decisions, unhealthy relationships, or a lack of balance in their lives. This shows that talent can help you get ahead quickly, but it doesn't guarantee you'll go far. Those with good fortune are different. People with good fortune aren't necessarily the best, but they know how to control themselves. They aren't too hasty, too extreme, and they know when to stop. This is what helps them avoid many risks. Good fortune also helps you preserve what you have. When you live moderately, respect others, and avoid doing harmful things, you create a stable environment around you. What you build, therefore, has a greater chance of lasting. An important point is that good fortune helps you live peacefully. Having talent but lacking good fortune, you may always be worried about keeping it, losing it, or competing. You might achieve a lot, but you won't feel at peace. Conversely, when you are blessed, you not only have good things, but you also have the ability to enjoy them. You are not caught up in the constant struggle for superiority. You are not pressured to prove yourself, and you do not live in a state of prolonged stress. The ancients valued blessings because they understood that life is not just about fleeting success, but a long journey. On that journey, maintaining balance, peace, and enduring values is far more important. Happiness isn't something you can find quickly. It's accumulated from very small things. From how you speak, how you treat others, how you handle your emotions, and how you live each day. A gentle word, a kind deed, a choice not to hurt others, all contribute to blessings. Conversely, haste, selfishness, or thoughtless actions can diminish the blessings you possess. What's special is that good fortune isn't something you see immediately. It's like a silent flow. You don't see the results right away, but over time, you'll feel the difference in your life. Ultimately, understanding the true meaning of blessing or happiness will change your perspective on life. You will no longer focus solely on achieving more, but will begin to care about living better. You know how to choose what's right instead of chasing after everything. You know how to cherish what you have instead of just wanting more. You also know how to appreciate the little things because you understand that they are the foundation of happiness. And when you live that way, you'll realize that life doesn't need to be noisy or full of achievements to be meaningful. Just enough peace, enough kindness, and enough stability, and you already have a very precious form of happiness. Many people, when looking at the lives of others, often say that they are fortunate, lucky, or that life has favored them. But if we observe more closely, we will see that these seemingly fortunate things don't happen randomly. Behind them is often a whole process of living, a way of thinking, and a way of dealing with life that has been accumulated over time. Therefore, understanding the true meaning of fortune not only helps us to avoid comparisons, but also helps us to live in a way that creates a more peaceful life for ourselves. Happiness doesn't come naturally. It's the result of actions, thoughts, and a way of life accumulated over time. It doesn't come randomly. It's formed from within you as a person. In our daily lives, every thought and action leaves a mark. Some marks are immediately visible, but others accumulate silently without us realizing it. Blessings usually belong to the second category. They don't come in a single moment, but grow little by little as we live our lives. When a person consistently chooses kindness over selfishness, calmness over impulsiveness, and sincerity over calculation, they are quietly building a solid foundation for their life. These choices may not produce immediate results, but over time, they create a different living environment. Happiness also comes from how we treat others. A person who is respectful, keeps their word, and is considerate of others usually creates healthy relationships. These relationships not only bring comfort, but also provide support when needed. Conversely, if someone consistently hurts others, speaks harshly, or lives irresponsibly, they may not see the consequences immediately. But over time, they will experience alienation, distrust, and unstable relationships. Happiness is not an unexpected reward, but the inevitable result of a way of life. It's like planting a seed. Whatever seeds you sow and how you care for them, over time you will reap the corresponding results. It's important to understand that happiness doesn't just come from outward actions, but also from within. When you maintain inner peace, avoiding excessive anger, delusion, pride, or doubt, you're creating a state of tranquility for yourself. This state helps you make better decisions and avoid unnecessary trouble. Many people think that you have to do great things to be blessed, but in reality, blessings are often created from very small things. A kind word, a timely act of help, a single time you choose not to hurt others, all contribute to accumulating blessings. What's special is that, when you live righteously, you not only create blessings for yourself, but you also spread that feeling to those around you. Others feel more comfortable when they are near you, and that, in turn, makes your life more prosperous. This is a story about people who live virtuously and are rewarded accordingly. There are people who always live kindly, help others, and maintain integrity. Although they may not become wealthy immediately, their lives gradually become easier and more fortunate. There was a person who lived in less than ideal circumstances. They had an ordinary job, a low income, and few influential connections. But what set them apart was the way they lived. They always maintained kindness in their dealings with others. In their work, they are responsible and do not compromise principles for short-term gain. When they can help someone, they readily do so without expecting too much in return. In life, they don't speak ill of others behind their backs. Don't participate in negative gossip and always try to speak gently. These things may not yield immediate benefits, but they help them build a trustworthy image. In the beginning, their lives were unremarkable. There were even times when they felt they were lagging behind others. They didn't change their way of life because of it. They continued to maintain consistency in their actions and thoughts. Gradually, small things begin to change. Others start to trust them more. When opportunities arise, they are remembered for their reliability and stability. The relationships around them also become more fulfilling. On one occasion, when they encountered difficulties at work, those very people they had helped returned to support them, not out of obligation, but because they genuinely wanted to help. This didn't happen overnight, but was the result of a long process. Not only that, their inner selves also become lighter. They don't have to worry so much about being slandered or betrayed by others, because the way they live has created a less conflict-ridden environment. After many years, although they didn't become exceptionally wealthy, their lives were stable, relatively uneventful, and filled with simple joys. They had trustworthy people around them, suitable jobs, and inner peace. What's remarkable is that none of that came from unexpected luck. It stemmed from how they lived each day. Seemingly small actions made a big difference over time. This story shows that living virtuously isn't about getting something in return immediately. It's a way of life that helps you build a solid foundation for your future. When that foundation is strong enough, good things will gradually appear. Understanding this, you will no longer rush to find results. You will focus on living more authentically each day. You will know that every positive thought, every kind act has value, even if it's not immediately apparent. Ultimately, happiness is not something you wait for, but something you create. Not through grand gestures, but through how you live your life in the small things. When you live right, happiness will come naturally, quietly, but sustainably. And when you look back, you'll realize that life was easier, not because you were luckier, but because you lived differently. In life, not everyone realizes that the way they live each day is subtly building or depleting their own blessings. Some people rise slowly but surely, their lives gradually becoming easier over time. But there are also those who make their lives heavier, even though they initially had many opportunities. The difference doesn't lie entirely in circumstances, but in how each person thinks, behaves, and chooses. This is a story about someone who squanders their own good fortune. Conversely, some people, due to their hot temper, greed, selfishness, or lack of self-control, gradually lose good opportunities in relationships, making life increasingly difficult. There was a person who once had many advantages. They were capable, had good job opportunities, and were surrounded by people willing to support them. But their weakness was their inability to control their emotions and their rather large ego. At work, they are easily angered when things don't go their way. Even a slight suggestion can provoke a strong reaction. Initially, people are understanding, thinking it's just their straightforward personality. But over time, this temper makes others feel tired and they gradually distance themselves. Not only that, they also tend to want to be superior to others. When they see others being recognized, they feel resentful. When opportunities arise, they want to seize them for themselves without much thought for others. Such actions may bring immediate benefits, but they subtly tarnish their image. In relationships, they also lack stability. When happy, they are very enthusiastic, but when dissatisfied, they easily say harsh things. People who were once close gradually feel unsafe around them because they don't know when they will be hurt. There are times when they are given good opportunities, but due to impatience and a desire for quick results, they make hasty decisions. When faced with difficulties, instead of reflecting on themselves, they easily blame circumstances or others. Over time, these things begin to accumulate. They don't realize it immediately, but opportunities become scarce, people around them drift apart, and the support they once received disappears. They start to feel life becoming more difficult, but they don't understand why. In reality, it wasn't life that turned its back on them, but rather the way they lived that eroded the good things they once had. Every moment of anger, every act of selfishness, every lack of self-control was like dropping a part of the blessings they possessed. Unfortunately, these things don't always happen at the same time. They occur subtly, little by little, making them difficult to notice without looking back. By the time things become clear, a lot has already been lost. This story isn't meant to be judgmental, but rather to remind us that happiness isn't something fixed. It can be accumulated, but it can also be depleted if we don't pay attention to how we live. Good fortune is manifested in very small things. A gentle word, an act of kindness, a positive thought, or a timely act of patience are all ways to accumulate good fortune every day. Many people think that accumulating merit requires doing great things. But in reality, merit is often created from very small things in daily life. It is these small things, when repeated long enough, that make a huge difference. Gentle words can change someone's feelings. When you choose to speak with respect instead of annoyance, you not only avoid conflict but also create a more pleasant environment. Others, feeling respected, are more likely to treat you in return. An act of kindness, however small, is valuable. You don't always need to do something big. Sometimes it's just offering timely support, sharing a small part, or simply being there when someone needs you. These things create genuine connections. Positive thinking is also a way to accumulate merit. When you don't harbor envy, don't dwell on negative thoughts. Don't let your mind get caught up in bad things. You maintain inner peace. A light heart helps you see more clearly and make better choices. Knowing when to be patient is also very important. You don't always need to win every argument. Sometimes, stepping back helps you avoid undesirable consequences. Patience isn't weakness. It's knowing what's worth holding on to and what's worth letting go of. Furthermore, small habits like keeping promises, being punctual, and working responsibly also contribute to accumulating good fortune. These things build trust. So when others trust you, opportunities and good relationships are more likely to come your way. The important thing is that these small things don't require you to make big changes immediately. You just need to pay more attention to each action. A little bit each day, and gradually you'll see the difference. When you live this way, you not only accumulate good karma, but also create a more pleasant life for yourself. You have fewer conflicts, fewer regrets, and feel more at ease in your way of life. Conversely, if you ignore small things, you might not see the problem right away. But over time, the accumulation of negative actions also creates consequences. A harsh word can hurt, a broken promise can destroy trust, and a negative thought can influence decisions. Understanding this, you will no longer take the small things in life for granted. You will begin to pay attention to how you speak, how you think, and how you behave. Not out of fear of losing blessings, but because you understand the value of living righteously. Ultimately, happiness isn't something far-fetched. It lies within the way you live each day. You don't need to wait for a big opportunity to do good. You can accumulate it in the most ordinary things. And when you persevere with those little things, you'll realize that life gradually changes. Not with big leaps, but with stability, gentleness, and good things appearing naturally. Happiness doesn't come from a single moment, but from a process. And that process begins with the small choices you make every day. In life, there are things that cannot be measured immediately, but have a profound impact on the quality of life in the long run. Happiness is one such thing. Some people may not be particularly outstanding, yet their lives are stable, peaceful, and relatively uneventful. Conversely, some people have ample resources but frequently encounter trouble and fatigue. This difference largely lies in how they live, especially in their humble attitude and daily actions. Why do humble people often have more blessings? Humble people create fewer conflicts, learn more easily, receive more help, and hurt others less. This is what helps them accumulate blessings naturally. Humility, first and foremost, is an attitude of not putting one's ego above everything else. Humble people don't need to be better than others to feel valuable. They aren't overly concerned with proving themselves right, but rather with understanding things correctly. This is what helps them create fewer conflicts. In relationships, most conflicts stem from everyone wanting to be right. When someone knows how to step back, listen, and not try to win, many clashes are reduced. Less conflict means a more pleasant living environment. Others also feel more comfortable around them as they don't feel pressured to win or be defensive. This creates gentle yet lasting connections. Humble people are also easier to learn from. When not blinded by ego, they are willing to acknowledge that they don't know enough. They can learn from anyone, from those more skilled than themselves to those with different experiences. This ability to learn allows them to develop continuously, not through big leaps, but through steady accumulation. Over time, this creates a very solid foundation. Furthermore, humble people are often more likely to receive help. When you don't create a sense of competition or pressure, others are more willing to support you. They don't feel threatened or compared, so help comes naturally. Another important point is that humble people hurt others less. They're more careful with their words, know when to stop, and don't feel the need to say everything they think. This helps them avoid many undesirable consequences. All of these things combined create a very lasting form of happiness. It's not about big, immediate things, but rather a life with fewer troubles, more support, and a peaceful inner self. Actions that diminish blessings, lying, causing harm, being selfish, excessively greedy, or constantly complaining, are all things that silently reduce a person's blessings. In contrast to humility, are actions stemming from a large ego and lack of self-control. These actions may not have immediate consequences, but over time, they will greatly deplete one's blessings. Lying is one of the easiest ways to ruin your relationships. When you're dishonest, you might avoid a situation in the short term, but you lose trust. Once trust is eroded, relationships become more fragile. Furthermore, lying forces you to maintain multiple layers of information. This creates internal tension and makes it difficult to maintain long-term stability. Hurting others, whether through words or actions, is a very quick way to diminish one's blessings. Some words may seem like fleeting emotions, but they leave a lasting mark on others' hearts. These wounds not only affect the listener, but also come back to affect you through distance, loss of trust, or prolonged conflict. Being selfish is also a significant factor. When you only think about your own interests and disregard others, you might achieve something in the short term. But in the long run, you will find it difficult to build lasting relationships. People might cooperate with you once, but they won't want to stay long term. This greatly reduces opportunities and support in life. Excessive greed also has many negative consequences. When you always want more without knowing when enough is enough, you are more likely to make hasty or ill-considered decisions. This can lead to mistakes and the loss of what you already have. Greed also makes it difficult to be content with the present. No matter what you achieve, you still feel a sense of lack. This state makes life burdensome and devoid of peace. Resentment is a form of negative energy that is very easy to accumulate. When you constantly blame circumstances, other people, or fate, you lose the ability to look at yourself. Failing to reflect on oneself makes change difficult. When a problem isn't addressed at its root, it will recur in different forms. This leads to a dead end in life. Furthermore, resentment weighs heavily on your inner self. You easily get caught up in negative thoughts, lose your clarity of mind, and find it difficult to make the right decisions. All these actions don't cause immediate loss of happiness, but rather are like a gradual leak. If you don't recognize and correct them over time, you'll find life becoming more difficult without understanding the reason. Understanding this isn't meant to scare you, but to make you more conscious of how you live your life. You don't need to change everything in one day. Just start with small things. Keep your word a little more, speak a little more gently, be a little less reactive, and think a little more positively. These small things, when repeated, will make a big difference. Ultimately, happiness is not something that comes from the outside, but is the result of how you live. When you live humbly, know contentment, and maintain self-control, happiness will naturally accumulate. Conversely, if you don't pay attention to how you behave, your blessings can silently diminish. And most importantly, you can always choose again, starting with the smallest actions in your daily life. In modern life, many people unconsciously equate happiness with money and external success. When we see someone with a beautiful house, a nice car, and a stable job, we easily think they are fortunate. But if we observe more deeply, we will realize something very clear. Some people have material abundance but lack peace, while others who live simpler lives find genuine peace. This shows that happiness lies not only in what you possess, but also in how you perceive and live your life. Happiness is not just about material possessions. Some people are rich, but not at peace, while others don't have a lot of money, but live peacefully and happily. This shows that happiness also lies within. Money and material possessions certainly play a role in life. They help people have better living conditions, reduce basic stress, and provide more choices. But money cannot completely replace other elements of happiness. There are people who achieve great things, but are always in a state of stress. They worry about maintaining what they have, about competition, about losing their position. Though they may appear successful on the outside, they are not truly at peace on the inside. Conversely, there are people who don't possess much, but they live with inner contentment. They know how to be satisfied with what they have, appreciate the little things, and aren't caught up in the competition. This is what brings them a peace that not everyone possesses. Inner happiness is also reflected in the ability to face difficulties. When faced with problems, people with strong inner selves tend to be calmer, less panicked, and find appropriate solutions. They don't get caught up in negative emotions for too long. Meanwhile, if one's inner self is unstable, even in not too difficult circumstances, they can easily fall into anxiety, stress, and disorientation. This makes life seem heavier than it actually is. Happiness also lies in how you perceive life. When you tend to be grateful, you easily see the good things around you. When you focus too much on what you lack, you easily feel inadequate, even though that's not necessarily the case. An important point is that inner peace allows you to enjoy what you have. You don't have to wait until you achieve something great to feel happy. You can feel comfortable right now. Therefore, happiness is not just about having a lot, but about feeling content. It's not about achieving everything, but about knowing what truly matters to you. And this can only come from within. These are signs that you are fortunate. You have stable health, people who care about you, you rarely encounter major setbacks, and most importantly, your mind is not burdened by heavy thoughts. Many people are blessed, but don't realize it because they're used to what they have. When there are no major events, it's easy to take things for granted. But in reality, that's already a very precious form of blessing. Stable health is a clear sign. When your body isn't experiencing major problems, you can work, live, and enjoy life normally. This may seem obvious, but not everyone is so fortunate. Having people who care is also a form of blessing. This could be family, friends, or those around you. You don't need many. Just a few genuine people who are willing to listen and share will give you a very warm foundation. Having few major setbacks is another sign. Life isn't always smooth sailing, but if you don't face major shocks for an extended period, that's already a considerable stroke of luck. Even more important is that your mind isn't overly burdened. You're not constantly consumed by worry, carrying too much resentment, or weighed down by daily pressure. You may feel normal, but that very normalcy is the foundation of peace. You might also realize you're fortunate when you sleep better. A deep sleep isn't just a physical matter. It also reflects your mental state. When your mind isn't too stressed, your body is more relaxed. Furthermore, you find yourself experiencing fewer conflicts, not because life is perfect, but because you know how to handle situations more gently. You don't let small things escalate into big problems. You also begin to find yourself more content with simple things. A meal, a conversation, a stable workday are enough to make you feel comfortable. This shows that you are no longer so dependent on grand things to feel happy. Another sign is that you're no longer so prone to comparison. You understand that everyone has their own journey, and you're focusing more on your own life. This helps you maintain emotional stability. You might also realize you're fortunate when you torment yourself less. You no longer repeat old mistakes too often, you don't put yourself in awkward situations, and you know when to stop. These signs are not loud or obvious, but they are very real. They don't need to be proven to anyone. You just need to feel them within yourself. Understanding this helps you appreciate what you have more. You no longer focus solely on what you lack, but begin to see clearly what you already have. This doesn't stop you, but helps you move forward with a lighter heart. Ultimately, happiness isn't something to compare yourself to others, but something you experience in your own life. When you have good health, kind relationships, and a light heart, you already have a very solid foundation. And when you realize that, you will slow down, appreciate more, and cherish what you have. Because sometimes happiness doesn't lie in how much more you gain, but in not losing the most important things. In life, many people often seek quick ways to change their destiny or expect great opportunities for a better life. But the reality is that lasting things rarely come from sudden leaps. The same is true for blessings. They don't appear in a single moment, but are the result of how you live each day. And sometimes, the path to accumulating blessings is simpler than we think, starting with kindness and a contented heart. The first way to accumulate merit is to live a virtuous life. You don't need to do anything grand. Simply living right, living kindly, and avoiding hurting others is a great way to accumulate merit. Living kindly isn't something unattainable. It starts with small things in everyday life. It's about how you speak, how you treat others, and how you react in unpleasant situations. A gentle word can make others feel much better. Conversely, a harsh word can leave lasting hurt. When you are aware of this and choose to speak with moderation, you are contributing to a more positive environment around you. Living kindly also means not doing anything that would harm others, even when you have the opportunity. There are times when you might choose something that benefits you but negatively impacts others. When you choose what is right instead of the easy way, you are accumulating a very profound form of merit. Another aspect of kindness is being considerate of others. It's not about blind self-sacrifice, but about putting yourself in someone else's shoes before acting. This understanding helps you avoid many unnecessary conflicts. Being kind also means keeping your word. When you say what you mean and do what you say, others will trust you more. This trust not only helps build lasting relationships, but also opens up many opportunities in life. What's special is that when you live kindly, you not only help others, but also help yourself. You have fewer regrets, fewer conflicts, and feel more at ease. Your inner self gradually becomes more stable and comfortable. Many people think that only big things matter, but in reality, it's the small things repeated every day that make a difference. A single act of kindness, however small, contributes to accumulating blessings over time. More importantly, living a good life doesn't need to be ostentatious. You don't need others to know what you've done. Its value lies in the action itself and the impact it creates. The second method is to maintain inner peace and contentment. Those who are content will have less greed, less conflict, and less suffering. When the mind is not filled with excessive ambition, life will be lighter and blessings will come more easily. If kindness helps you create blessings from the outside, then maintaining inner peace and contentment helps you preserve and nurture blessings from within. This is a crucial but often overlooked element. Knowing when enough is enough doesn't mean not trying or not growing. It means understanding what's truly important to you and not getting caught up in wanting everything. When you constantly feel a lack of something, you easily fall into a state of stress. No matter what you achieve, you still feel it's not enough. This makes it difficult for you to experience joy and satisfaction. Conversely, when you know enough, you easily appreciate what you have. You don't need to wait to achieve something great to feel happy. You can feel contentment right now. Maintaining inner peace is also crucial. Life is full of unexpected events. If you react too strongly to every problem, you'll easily get caught up in negative emotions. When you remain calm, you see the problem more clearly. You don't let emotions guide your actions, and you can make wiser decisions. This helps you avoid many unnecessary mistakes. People who know contentment and maintain inner peace tend to be less argumentative. They don't need to be better than others to feel valuable. They focus on their own lives instead of constantly comparing themselves to others. Less competition means less conflict. When you avoid unnecessary competition, you maintain harmony in your relationships. Furthermore, when your mind isn't overly greedy, you're less likely to make hasty decisions. You consider things more carefully, not being swept away by short-term gains while ignoring long-term consequences. One important thing is that when you have enough, it's easier to keep what you have. You don't take excessive risks. You don't compromise important values just to gain more. This leads to a more stable life. Maintaining inner peace and knowing when you have enough can also help you sleep better, eat better, and live at a slower pace. These seemingly simple things have a huge impact on the quality of life. When you combine both elements, living kindly and maintaining inner peace, you create a very solid foundation. You accumulate blessings through your actions while also preserving inner blessings. It's worth noting that these two methods don't require you to completely change your life immediately. You just need to start with small things. Speak a little more gently, think a little more slowly, and appreciate things a little more. Over time, these small changes will accumulate. you'll find yourself less tired, experiencing fewer conflicts, and life gradually becoming more pleasant. Ultimately, accumulating merit isn't complicated. It's not about grand gestures, but about how you live each day. When you live kindly and maintain inner peace, merit will come naturally. And when you look back, you'll realize that the most valuable thing isn't how much you have, but how you live and how you feel in your own life. In their quest for a better life, many people often look outward for answers. They hope for opportunities, good fortune, or that something will change their circumstances. But the longer people live, the more they realize that lasting things don't come from asking, but from how they live each day. The same is true for blessings. They aren't a random gift, but the result of nurturing from within. And in that journey, gratitude and appreciation are among the most important methods. The third method is gratitude and appreciation. Being grateful for what you have prevents you from falling into a state of mental deprivation. This, in turn, helps you maintain and nurture lasting happiness. Gratitude is a very special state of mind. When you are grateful, you no longer see life from a perspective of scarcity, but begin to see it from a perspective of abundance. This doesn't mean you have everything, but rather that you realize you have more than you ever thought possible. When people lack gratitude, they easily fall into a feeling of inadequacy. No matter what they achieve, they still feel something is missing. When they acquire something new, they want something else. This cycle keeps them in a constant state of searching without truly being satisfied. Conversely, when you are grateful, you begin to appreciate the very ordinary things. A healthy day, a satisfying meal, a warm conversation, or simply a peaceful morning all become meaningful. It is this appreciation that helps you keep what you have. When you take something for granted, you easily lose it. But when you understand its value, you will be more careful in preserving it. Gratitude also helps reduce a lot of stress. You no longer have to chase after proving whether you're good enough or not. You don't need to constantly compare yourself to others. You can focus more on your own life. One important thing is that when you are grateful, you are less resentful. You no longer see things as injustice, but understand that everything happens for a reason. This helps you stay calm when facing difficulties. Gratitude also helps you cultivate better relationships. You appreciate others, they feel it too. Appreciation creates genuine connections, not based on self-interest, but on mutual respect. Furthermore, when you are grateful, you are more likely to give. It's not because you have too much, but because you feel you have enough. When you give with that mindset, you don't feel like you're losing anything, but rather feel lighter. A grateful person tends to have a more stable inner self. They are not overly affected by external changes. Even as life changes, they maintain a foundation of peace. The important thing is that gratitude doesn't have to be something grand. You can start with very small things. Every day, take a little time to reflect on what you have. It doesn't have to be perfect, just genuine. Over time, this habit will change the way you view life. You will find everything lighter, more pleasant, and less stressful. And that state of mind is the foundation for lasting happiness. In summary, the profound meaning of the word blessing, PHC, is that it is not something to beg for, something to cultivate. You live righteously, live virtuously, and maintain a pure heart. Blessings will naturally come and remain. Looking back on the entire journey, we will see that happiness is not something mysterious or far-fetched. It doesn't lie in grand things, but in the way you live each day. Happiness doesn't come from how much you have, but from how you live. A person may not possess much, but if they live kindly, are content with what they have, and maintain inner peace, they still have a valuable life. Conversely, if a person has a lot but doesn't know how to keep it, doesn't appreciate it, and is always caught up in greed, anger, or comparison, they may still feel a lack and weariness. The most important thing is that good fortune is not something fixed. It can be accumulated, but it can also be depleted. And you are the one who has the greatest influence on that. When you live righteously, it means you act in accordance with good values. You don't do wrong for short-term gain. You maintain honesty and responsibility in your actions. When you live virtuously, it means you not only think of yourself, but also care about others. You avoid causing harm and are willing to help to the best of your ability. When you maintain a clear mind, it means you don't let negative emotions overwhelm you. You don't harbor envy, resentment, or unfounded suspicion. You maintain clarity of thought. When these three elements combine, you create a very solid foundation. From that foundation, good things can naturally emerge. Happiness isn't always expressed through grand things. Sometimes it's simply a stable life, with few ups and downs, loved ones by your side, and a peaceful inner self. Understanding this, you will no longer rush to find things. You will focus on living better each day. You will know that every right thought, every kind action, and every moment of gratitude has value. Ultimately, happiness is not something you wait for, but something you create and nurture. When you live with mindfulness, appreciation, and kindness, happiness will not need to be sought. It will naturally come into your life. Happiness isn't about how much you have, but about how you live each day. When you understand that every small action contributes to your life, you'll begin to live more carefully, kindly, and consciously. And from there, happiness will gradually accumulate without having to search too far. If you find this video thought-provoking, please like, share, and subscribe to the Simple Philosophy channel to live better and more peacefully together every day.